Today I want to go through my yarn and see how much knitting I've managed to get done in the last 6 months from my stash and find out exactly what yarn I have left. So back at the start of the year, I looked at how much yarn I had managed to collect in my one and only year of knitting so far. And I was a little bit surprised to learn that I had collected enough here to last me another 8 years of knitting at least. So since then I have refrained from buying any more yarn mostly, and I have been just knitting from my stash like crazy, and I'm really pleased with how much progress I've managed to make. So I started the year with these 4 tubs here. I had them sorted into kind of 4 categories. So I had garments for myself, accessories for myself, gifts, and miscellaneous. And they were totally full, and there were some yarns that actually didn't fit in the tubs. I'm pleased to say that I have made some visible progress so far. So I can now pretty easily fit all my yarn in these tubs, except for this bag here, which still doesn't fit, and my works in progress, which are in that tub up there, which I don't keep in with the rest of my yarn. This is a real improvement over the start of the year, where these tubs were like packed to the brim. As I've been kind of dipping in and out of them and using them, I've managed to kind of jumble up the organization, and I just don't think they're the most strategically arranged at the moment. I don't think they're taking up the maximum space in the tubs, and I can no longer really remember where anything is because they're not organized in those categories anymore. I also have a lot more scrap quantities of yarn now since I finished a bunch of projects, so I think I need to kind of get those together and see exactly how much I have and what weights they are so I can do some project planning. So all that to say, I want to go through these tubs today, kind of tip them all out and see exactly what I've got left. I want to weigh a couple of scraps that are from finished projects so that I can enter them into my Ravelry and figure out exactly how much that project called for. And then that will give us the information we need for me to see exactly how much yarn I've knit through over 6 months and whether I'm on track to meet my goal of finishing this all in 8 years. I really hope I am. And we'll see if I can get this collection fully fitting inside these 4 tubs, thus meeting my first stash down goal. Okay, I think there's nothing else to do but to tip all of this yarn onto the floor. Let's do it. Forgive me, I don't have much space, so this is the best I can do, but here are the 4 tubs in question. In terms of knitwear I'm wearing, I'm very pleased to be wearing my new Drowse socks. These are one of my most recently finished objects. These are house socks, and they are knit with brioche legs, so you kind of scrunch them up around the ankles. I think they're really cute. I think the strategy for organizing is going to be to tip these out onto the floor. I have all of my yarn inside Ziploc bags because of bugs. I've dealt with bugs before, moths and carpet beetles, so I'm quite paranoid about them or getting back in. I will take all the yarn out of the bags because it's going to make a super annoying noise. That will let me kind of look at it and see what I've got going on, and then we can, I guess, pick some new categories and then repack it back up into the tubs. So let's tip it out. This is everything. Oh my god, it's so much when you just put it in a pile. So I'm thinking the first and easiest thing to do might be to just broadly categorize these. So I'm going to do sweater quantities, accessory quantities, and then scraps, and then see how that looks. So let's do that. Why? Look at this pig in. This is in 4 separate bags for some reason. Surely I can fit these into fewer bags. Now this yarn is something I need to weigh because it has come into my collection. I'll talk more about that, but I don't know how much it weighs, so I'm definitely going to be weighing this. Okay, I kind of have 3 piles going on. So at the front here I have sweater quantities or just things that I want to make garments from. So an example of something that's not a sweater quantity is this cotton here. This is only enough for a summer tank top, but I'm keeping it in this garment pile. Now, I have kind of poorly paired up some yarns. So in this bag is 1 ball of Peer Gynt, which is part of a sweater quantity, 1 ball of Bendigo Woolen Mills, and then some knitting for olive, merino, and mohair. And they're all different categories. So I'm going to have to split up some bags and reorganize them, definitely. At the back, I've got scrap quantities, or, you know, single balls that aren't sock yarn, but they need to be paired with something else for a garment, or they could make scrappy socks or whatnot. So these are kind of all my orphaned little skeins. And then over here on my left are sock and accessory quantities, or things that I intend to make socks or accessories with. This needs to move. So I reckon I'm going to open these up kind of one by one into piles. I'll take anything out of the other piles if they need to come in, and I'll deal with a group at a time. So I think the easiest place to start is going to be the garments. So let me move the other stuff out of the way, and we'll crack into these garment bags. Okay, so this is what we're working with in terms of garments. Those are all the Ziploc bags that I took them out of. That's my cup of tea. And here's what we've got. So I think we've got maybe 10 kind of distinct garments that I am planning to make. I don't necessarily know what pattern I want to use, but I kind of get a sense that these are the yarns that are going to get turned into garments. So let me take you through each of them and tell you a little bit about what they are. Okay, so first up, I want to talk about my very large collection of Peer Gynt from Sandouts, and I'll tell you about where I got it from. So unless I say otherwise, you can assume that all of my yarn is secondhand. So that's mostly from Facebook Marketplace, eBay, op shops. But this yarn in particular came from somewhere interesting. So I have a lot of this Peer Gynt in the colour 926, which I think is discontinued. It's a super hot fire engine red, leaning slightly warm, but it's almost a true red. I have an awful lot of this. I think I have 900 grams. I also have about 250 grams of the same yarn in the color 217, this white color. And I also have some skeins of this with what I think is the most beautiful yarn label I have ever seen. Look at this old Sandouts label. I much prefer this over the modern kind of minimalist label. Anyway, this is the color 550, and I have I think 700 grams of this. So this yarn was being sold on Facebook Marketplace by somebody who acquired a yarn store going into liquidation from a friend. That's my understanding. So she had these at a really great price. The 50 gram balls, like this red one, were only $2.50, and the full 100 gram skeins were $5. So that means that I got all of this brown yarn for like $35. That's enough for a large garment by itself. I got this white yarn to go with the brown yarn in a colorwork. I got all of that for like $12.50 or something. And the same for this red yarn. So I got a huge amount of this for a really, really reasonable price. I love the feeling of the Peer Gynt yarn, and I'm so excited to make a garment with it. I'm definitely going to do a red garment and then a brown and probably white colorwork garment. The next yarn I have, I've showed some of these before, is this yarn that I unwound and dyed myself. This is Heirloom Colourworks. I can't remember the original colour, but it was like a marshmallow pink, and I overdyed it hot pink. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think I have about 400 grams of this yarn. I'm going to make a garment out of it. Obviously, the plan is for either a cardigan or a sweater. The most recent plan in my mind is for the Pearl Sweater by Helene Baber. Beautiful, soft, superwash yarn I'm really excited to use. Okay, next full garment quantity. This is another really interesting one. So this yarn here is a mystery fiber. I have a whole bunch of it. And I bought it from an op shop. It feels to me like some sort of mohair, maybe alpaca. It is very hairy and very soft. It doesn't look that soft, so I bought it in a plastic bag from an op shop, and you can't really see, like, feel the yarn inside the bags. So when I got it home and I felt it, I was so excited. And I think I only got something like 200 grams at that point. When I opened the bag, it smelled so strongly of naphthalene, which is like mothballs. It was unbearable, and it's not very good for you. So I did painfully unwind it from this cone shape it was in. It was like a cone that had the cardboard pulled out. I painfully skeined it up without a yarn, without a Swift. Well, I now do own a Swift. I washed it, I dried it, I re-skeined it into these horrible things. But as you can see, because it came on a cone, I think it was designed maybe for machine knitting, this skein is massive. And I was so excited about this find, but I didn't really have quite enough for a garment. So I kind of put it aside and didn't really think much more about it. And then a few months later, I went back to the same op shop and they had more of the same yarn. So I don't know if, like, in the back storage area, they had kind of separated it by accident and someone had put half of it out onto the floor without its siblings. But anyway, I, of course, spotted, I think it was maybe these two, I spotted them and I knew that it was the same yarn I'd already bought. So I quickly bought it. This was like a couple of dollars or something. And I'm really, really happy. It's super soft. It's just very hairy. So I don't really have any particular garment in mind for this one. But I know I will make a garment out of it, definitely. While we're on the grey train, I want to show you some more grey yarn. I think this is the only other grey garment yarn I have. So I have a whole bag here of Drops Sky, which is baby alpaca and merino wool. It is this really beautiful soft chainette style yarn in this mild grey colour. I think I have 450 grams maybe, but it's got really long meterage for its grams. So it is, oh, I should be mentioning, all the yarns I've spoken about so far have been DK. Obviously this kind of alpaca, I'm not really sure, maybe a sport weight. This is also a DK, I think, but it's 50 grams per ball and there are 190 meters or 270 yards per ball. So I have a huge amount of this. I think it was 1800 meters. So I can easily make myself a nice garment, and the current plan is to make a cardigan out of this grey yarn. Okay, let's move on to my kind of haphazard Bendigo Woollen Mills collection. So I found all of these, I believe, at op shops, except for 2 of them, which I'll mention. So, oh, 3 of them actually. So first for the op shop ones, Bendigo Woollen Mills has these really recognizable, like, big cakes. They're 200 grams. This is the first type. This is their Woodlands yarn, which is a tweedy kind of natural yarn. It's quite soft. And the plan for this cream color is to make myself a vest or a pullover. Since I've got 200 grams of it, I think it will be enough for a small vest. The next type I have is this 5-ply classic. So this one has its label still, and it's in the color kelp. This one over here is in the shade Magnolia, which is a cream white. And then this one here doesn't have its label anymore, but it's clearly the same yarn, and it's in this cool toned kind of ruby red color. So I have 3 of this 5-ply, which is sport weight. And the plan is to mix and match some of these to create a striped garment when I have the bravery to knit a sport weight garment. So I'll either do a white and green stripe or a white and red stripe. I don't think I'll do a green and red stripe. And make a jumper out of it, because that will bring me up to basically 400 grams, which is perfect. So that's the plan for these yarns. I'm not done with my Bendigo woolen mills, but these three I got off Facebook Marketplace. So a lady was reselling these. They're not full skeins. So this one's, say, 145 grams. This one's 147 grams. These two are the Persian line. So the colors are powder and larkspur. So it's a white and a lilac. And these have 75% wool, 15% mohair, 5% alpaca, and 5% silks. So they're just a little bit softer and fluffier than the others. And the final wool in my Bendigo Woolen Mills collection is this Clover Bloom yarn. So the line is called Bloom, and it is this barber pole striped yarn. And this color Clover is green and purple, which is really cool. I actually bought a green and purple kind of corset vest, and I don't really have anything to wear with it, so I want to make a top out of this so that I can wear it under that corset. So that's the plan for this. Oh, I didn't say, so for the Persian yarns, I think I'm going to use them in a color work together. I was thinking something from Sasky & Co. Just like a nice Arctic style pullover, but I'm not sure I have quite enough for a full jumper. It might have to be a vest, so we'll see. Okay, we're getting through the garments. Next up, I wanted to just touch on some summer yarns. So I have this Joe Sharp Soho Summer DK Cotton in the color 252 Blush, which is this raspberry pink. And I think I have something like 100 grams or 150 grams, which should be enough to do a little bit of a tank top. So that's what I'm going to knit with this probably later in the year. And on a similar note, I have these two skeins of Sheep's Wurlette, which is cotton and acrylic blend in this light grey colour. It's a fingering weight, so I think this would also make a really nice lacy summer top. Finally, in my garment collection, I have this yarn, which came with a label from the dyer, which is cool. This is Anne Collins silk yarn. So this is 100% silk, and this is the color Indian Summer. So it's a brown and blue silky skein of yarn. I think it's 100 grams. It's lace weight or fingering weight, so it would also make a nice lacy summer top. I'm not sure how the variegation would look in a garment, so we'll see if that's what I end up making. I think a lot of people make shawls out of this yarn. And the final kind of subcategory here is scrappy garment projects. So I tipped this out, and that was a mistake. I was blessed by the op shopping gods, and one day I went in and saw a whole bunch of really beautiful, what looked kind of like hand-dyed-ish yarns. And upon further inspection of these balls, which were all in a pack, I saw a little label shoved inside one of them. And I recognized that label as a Malabrigo Rios label. And sure enough, I bought it. Oh, here it was. This one's like how it was in there. So I bought them, and I managed to get for, I think, $4 a whole bag of autumn toned Malabrigo yarn scraps. This one's so beautiful. So someone must have done a project with them and then just donated the rest. So I have, I think, 300 grams of these in kind of various autumn shades. So the original plan was to do a spot sweater by Anne Wenzel, but I'm open to other ideas. So this would be an all over kind of tone on tone color work. So yeah, I'm thinking a jumper out of that will be really nice. I learned my lesson and I didn't tip this one out. This is my other scrappy sweater bag. I got these yarns off Facebook Marketplace. They're sock yarns that someone's left over. There's between like 20 and 30 grams in most of these. So I have 300 grams total. And I think if I were to hold these double, kind of randomly, I could knit a really cool all over rainbow scrappy jumper out of it. I was thinking the Carl Johans sweater from Knitting for Olive. So that's the plan with those. I'm reaching into my accessories collection to pull out these yarns because I think that they need to move into the garment collection. These were also part of that same Facebook Marketplace purchase of all the scrap yarns. And I managed to get these cool neon colors. So I got yellow, orange, and then this deep purple. And none of these had labels. So I had to kind of figure out what they might be. And I'm 99% sure these were all Hedgehog Fibers scraps that I bought. I managed to identify a bunch of them, and I'll talk about some of them later in my accessories kind of collection, including these ones, which came in like almost full cakes. So I'm pretty sure this is Hedgehog Fibers Merino Lace in the color Purple Rain. I have this cake, which is 200 grams. So that's the first color. Then I'm pretty sure this is the same yarn in the color Kid You Not, which is a kind of high-vis neon orange. Oh, this yarn's actually a slightly different base than the others. I believe this is the Skinny Singles. So the orange is Merino Lace and the yellow is Skinny Singles. So the Skinny Singles is not plied, it's just a single yarn. And this is in the color Highlighter, which is a highlighter yellow. So I think these would go really well together in a Halloween pullover, obviously with a bit of black and white, but yeah, that's what I'm picturing. And if I wanted to do black and white, I actually have black and white kind of lace weight yarn here, so maybe I'll package them all up together and that can be a future knitting plan. So this is the Ella Ray Lace Merino. It's just a black merino. I got this from an op shop, and I also, in the same packet, got this really cool Italian yarn, Filatura di Crosa Cento Lavaggi. So it's a super lightweight yarn. This is 100 grams, and it's like just, I don't know how many meters. Let's have a look. It's 100 grams and 1400 meters. So definitely a super, super, super lace weight. So I might have to hold this double. But yeah, I think if I get all these colors together, I'm going to be able to make some sort of monstrous Halloween garment. And I love Halloween, so maybe I'll package these all up together. Okay, so that's my garment collection. So I think I'm going to put these back into their Ziploc bags and into a tub. I doubt this is all going to fit into one tub. I think this is going to be 2 tubs worth. So let's see how much we can fit. Whenever I'm putting my yarn into these bags, I always try to squeeze out the extra air, just like fit more in. And I have a couple of these desiccant packets that I put in with some of the yarns, especially the ones that I dyed at home, just in case there's still any moisture in there. I don't want it to go moldy, so I just like drop those in the bags. Okay, so that's all of the garment yarns back into their bags. And excitingly, I didn't see any evidence of any moths or like carpet beetles, so I was kind of keeping an eye out for that. So that's really good news. I do like to go through my yarn, not infrequently, just to check and also to kind of like disturb it, because bugs tend to like things that are left in the dark and left alone. So if you're always kind of rifling through, then it's just less likely that they're gonna set up shop and munch on your yarn while you're none the wiser. In terms of volume, I think this is definitely a 2 tub job. And at the bottom of my tubs, I like to keep cedar balls. I'll have to refresh these pretty shortly, but I'll just chuck them in for now. Let's do all the peer gints together. So I've got 2 bags of brown, 1 bag of white, and 2 bags of red. And they're no longer like split up into separate bags, which is nice. And then I have a little bit of room on the side here, so I might put in the scraps. And there's a little bit of extra space, but I'll just leave that for now. So that's one. And then in this other one, I'll put all of my Bendigo. So that's the 5-ply, the kind of tweed and barber pole, and then the Persian one. I'll also put in this heirloom Colorworks, the mystery alpaca or mohair, and my drops sky. Oh my gosh, I really want this to fit into 2 tubs. There's 3 more things left. So this lace one is pretty small, so I might just add it into that first tub. My summer yarns can sit into the second tub, and then my kind of Halloween neons, I think I'll just lay on top here. So we have 2 tubs of garment yarns. And as I go through, I've been thinking about whether I want to donate any of these, and I can safely say that at least for the garment yarns, I don't want to donate any of them. I'm really excited to knit with all of these. So they're all a keep. I think when it comes to the accessories and the socks and the scraps, there's probably some stuff I'm going to get rid of. Not a lot, because I did donate a lot of yarn last year, but I'll just keep an eye out for anything that I don't really love and I'm not really excited to knit. So I've got 2 tubs done. What that means is I've only got 2 tubs left to store all my other yarn. These 2 are the smaller tubs, so we might be fine. I'd really love for everything to fit into the 4 containers, but we'll see how we go. Also, I just want to mention I do have some yarns that I'm currently working on, like, okay. And specifically when it comes to garment yarns, I just want to mention it so this is more comprehensive. I am knitting a book club cardigan with this shepherd's wool worsted. So this is in the color navy. I have 3 skeins of this, which is I think 330-ish grams, and that's currently my only garment whip. So this plus the stuff in the tubs is everything I have for garments. Okay, I'm going to stack these back up under my desk, which is where they usually live, and then we can get stuck into the other yarn. I think next I'm going to do socks and accessories. So let's do it. I had a little break and I had to put a jumper on because it's getting pretty cold. I don't think the light's going to last me much longer, so we'll see how far I get today. Let's dig into the socks and accessories yarn. Oh, and this pile of stuff back here are my childhood school books, so please just ignore those. I need to go through them all. Okay. First one here is the Altamoda Alpaca Baby Alpaca Chainette yarn. It's in this lovely warm brown color. I have 3 50-gram skeins, so 150 grams. And I believe this is going to become a scarf or a hood. So I do have a plan for that. The next one I have a plan for already is this yarn that I dyed myself. I got this from an op shop. It was white. It's 400 grams or 450 grams of what I suspect is cosy wool from Lincraft. So it's a superwash yarn. I'm pretty confident, but it's just not very soft. So I think this would make a nice scarf, and I'm thinking maybe the Alex hood pattern by Knitting for Olive. Since I have so much of it, I can make a really big scarf out of it. So that's definitely staying. The next one I'm not so sure about. I might keep, I might get rid of it. This is Patterns Caressa. So this is an acrylic wool blend, 45% wool, 45% acrylic, 10% mohair. Oh, I didn't mention the color of the alpaca from here is 015. The color of the yarn that I dyed, this super deep blue, this is a landscapes dye. I'll actually mention both, I'll put both of the colors up on the screen for the yarns that I dyed myself because I don't have them off the top of my head, but it was a specific dye that I used for this. This red mohair is color 1395. It's just a super fluffy red yarn. I love the color. It's quite soft. I don't know what I would make out of it. I might make a red beanie out of it. I'm not sure if having a beanie out of half acrylic is a good idea or not, but if not, someone else might appreciate this as a gift. So I might hold on to it for now, but if I do end up donating anything, it'll probably be something like this, which is kind of cheaper yarn that I'm not so sure what to do with. This is an exciting one. I got this from an op shop. I found 2 unlabeled skeins that I recognized. So these are Arne and Carlos Regia sock yarn, and it is a self-striping Fair Isle pattern in this red and navy, kind of like pink and navy color. And I got 2 full skeins of it for $2, I think. So I'm definitely going to make some socks out of these, obviously, because they're designed for the pattern to repeat around the leg and kind of look like Fair Isle. So if you did like a garment with them, it would kind of disrupt the pattern. Since I have 2, and I usually don't quite use one whole 100-gram ball for a pair of socks, I think I could make 2 pairs of adult socks and a pair of baby socks out of these. So I'm thinking these are going to go to someone in my life who has a baby, and I can make them a kind of family set. So I can make like a mum, dad, and baby set of socks. I think that would be really cute. So definitely keeping that. Here's one that got separated from its siblings. So I have 3 skeins of the Bendigo Woolen Mills 4-ply sock yarn. This is undyed. So I bought this specifically with the intention of dyeing it. It's just a beautiful superwash nylon and wool yarn. So I have already used some of this. I used it in my dress socks, actually, that I'm wearing. The orange toe and the heel are in this yarn, but I dyed that yarn myself. And that reminds me, I get to bust out my scales for the first time because I actually need to weigh how much of this I have left just to check how much I used in the sock. This was bought with the intention to separate off some and dye it very specific colors for colorwork socks, because if you buy 100 grams of like purple and black and red yarn, you end up with lots left over. So I wanted the ability to make something like, it's the Stardew Valley winter sock pattern on Ravelry. I'll put up a picture. It's a very intricate colorwork sock. It's one of the things that got me excited to learn how to knit. But you've got to buy a whole bunch of Knit Picks colors, and they're expensive for me to order. And I thought, why not just dye my yarn myself, which I like doing, and I can just dye the exact amount that I need. So that's exactly what this is for. So I imagine I will be working through this yarn slowly over time. And I do want to make some colorwork socks soon. And I don't really have that much kind of plain colored sock yarn to use. So I think this might be getting some use sooner rather than later. So next up in the accessories pile is this Patterns Jet Alpaca Wool Blend Yarn. You might recognize this because I actually recently knit a scarf out of the same yarn, just in the bulkier weight. So this is, I think, DK weight. And I have enough of this to similarly make a scarf or maybe a vest. So this is kind of straddling the line between accessory and garment because I don't really have a pattern in mind for it. it's just not particularly soft, so I'm not sure if I want to make a garment out of it. That's definitely a keep for the time being. Let's pick up one that's I'm not so sure about. This is one of the very first yarns that I ever bought. It's a cool vintage one. This is another one where I really like the label. This is Patterns New Yorker. So this I got for $2 apparently, according to the label. I got from an op shop, and it is a acrylic wool boucle. Sorry, an alpaca and acrylic boucle. So 40% alpaca, 60% acrylic. And you can't see because it's black, but it is like textured. And I have 3 skeins of this, which I don't know what I was thinking I was going to make out of it. Maybe a hat, but knitting in black boucle yarn sounds like a really bad time. So this, like the red yarn, is maybe a maybe. I don't love acrylic, but it might do well as a gift. So I'm going to put it in the pile for now. Okay, next up I want to talk about some sock yarns kind of all together. And you'll see some more of these in the scrap pile. I ordered a bunch of sock yarn from, I think in Victoria, a place called Wool Chambers. So they sell these colourful, variegated, kind of gradual colour changing yarns. I think these are the ones I have left in full, and I have quite a few scraps because I've used them before. So this is the colour Flora. It's pink and purple. I have 50 grams. And these 4 are actually all the colour Fiesta. So I have 200 grams. Which means I can make a bunch of socks. I could make a garment out of this if I wanted to. This is like a really warm toned rainbow shade. Let me just pull it out so you can see. And this is, as always, it's superwash wool and nylon because it's for socks. So I'm going to pack these together so that they're all like in one bag. Okay, let's keep going on the sock train. Next up in my self-striping Fair Isle socks. So this is the same kind of yarn as those 2 pink ones from earlier. This is one of the very few things I bought new. So I think I've mentioned the ones I bought new so far. So that's been the Bendigo Wool & Mills 4-ply undyed sock yarn. I bought that new. This is the second thing I bought new. I got this from Morris & Sons in Sydney. And I picked this out because it is not this pattern on the label, which I found very frustrating. I had to dig this up online. This is the colour 03861. And it's basically a purple and orange kind of self-striping Fair Isle effect yarn. And to me, it screams Halloween. And as we have established, I love Halloween. So these are absolutely getting knit this year before Halloween, so I can wear some Halloween socks. I think I'll put them with some other sock yarns. So I got this one on an auction site. So I don't usually go on auction sites, but my dad won this at auction for me. This is the Lang Yowl Superwash. It's just like a super lightweight sock yarn. Again, I probably will use this for colourwork socks, but I haven't had any need to break into it. It's such a cool, unique shaped ball. That's gonna go together with my Halloween socks. And then I think I'm going to put them with this. I got this secondhand, but it's from Cutiful Yarns, hand dyed by Christina. So thank you, Christina. And on the back it says Magic Sock Yarn, 50 grams, 4-ply, 70% merino, 25% nylon, 5% stellina. So this is my first ever yarn I have managed to get with stellina sparkle in it. It's very hard to capture, but it's sparkly yarn. I've only got 50 grams, so I could make a pair of short socks for myself, so that's probably the plan. It's super soft. This would also make a really nice present for like a little girl who likes unicorn colors, because that's what this reminds me of. This next one is a mystery to me. I have seen a yarn just like it from Black Wattle Yarns, which is an alpaca farm here in Australia. It's a very popular yarn brand. I've seen some on their Instagram. I think I have a screenshot of it that look just like this. It is black sock yarn with kind of green and very light blue streaks, very short streaks in it. Kind of looks like the Matrix or like a night sky. I just don't know exactly what base it's in. It's very soft, feels like alpaca to me. I might need to do some testing to see if, yeah, it's not easily breakable, which to me says it has a nylon in it. So I'm pretty sure it's a sock yarn. I think I have 100 grams here, and I'm probably going to make some socks, if not for myself, then for like my dad or my boyfriend or something, a guy who might like this style of sock. Another standalone sock yarn that I've got. This is another one that I spotted at an op shop and I was really excited because I recognized it. This is the Zauberball, so Shoppo Wool Zauberball. So there's Zauberball and Zauberball Crazy. This one is not the crazy yarn, so it is just a long form gradient and it goes from black to white. So it's like a grayscale yarn. I think I've got 50 grams. No, I've got 100 grams here. So I could make 2 decently long socks out of this. I don't know how long the color changes are. I can see there's white on the outside and I can see there's white on an inner layer. So I suspect it maybe goes black to white like 3 or 4 times in the ball. Yeah, I saw this. I got this for $3 from the op shop. So I saw this through kind of some plastic and I just clocked it and was like, I think that's a shoppable Zauberball, and it was. So that's cool. Okay, next I have a set of Pattern Isle Artistry. This is a sock yarn, kind of like mass produced but hand dyed-esque yarn. So it's meant to look as though it's been hand dyed. It says it's hand dyed, but it's from Patterns. So they're both just regular compositions, but they're really nice colors. So I have the color Neutral Mix and as well as Opal Mix. So that's kind of a grayscale with a burgundy speckle and then a rainbow speckle, but it's quite a cool toned rainbow. So blue, purple, a little bit of green, a little bit of red. Really beautiful. I have 2 of the Opal Mix. And I have 1 of the Neutral Mix because I've already used one. I used it in my beanie I made myself last year. So you'll see that in the scrap pile because I've got some left over. So I think I'll either make a pair of rainbow socks out of these, or I was thinking of a pattern that involved color work with black and then the rainbow yarn as a kind of stained glass effect. I think would look really nice. Okay, this next yarn looks like scrap, but I swear it's not. This is Knitting for Olives, soft silk mohair and merino in the same color. I'm sorry, I've lost all of the labels right now, but it's some sort of burnt rose color. I have 2 balls of the merino and 1 ball of the mohair, and that's enough to make a beanie, or maybe just, I'm not sure. I'm going to knit a beanie out of these, and I started to knit a beanie. That's why the yarn labels are missing. And this is all kind of like hand wound. I started to make a beanie, but I couldn't meet gauge with it, so I kind of had to unwind. But that's what this is going to become. I think that's all the sock yarn that I have. So yeah, as you can see, I don't really have a lot of yarn that's really good for colorwork socks, like plain colored yarn. Hence I bought the undyed yarn for me to dye myself. I do have some kind of other miscellaneous yarns here. So I've got 2 black yarns. I have a single skein of BC Garns Samilla or Samia. This is meant to be an organic merino. There we go. It's really soft and beautiful, very tightly plied, so it's got a lovely texture. I don't know what I'm going to make out of this with only 50 grams. This might make a nice baby beanie if there's someone who wants a black baby beanie, or I'll use it in some sort of color work. I also have 2 skeins of this Heirloom Merino Magic. Again, this is just plain black merino. I've got 1 ball here, and then 1 is attached to my knitting machine because I am currently knitting something with it. It's a birthday gift for someone. I'm going to make them a black scarf. So that's what that's going to become. This is another unusual one. So this is one of the very few things that has come into my collection in the last 6 months. These 2 yarns were given to me by a family member who went to Japan. And they went to a craft store and picked me up some things, and they got me these 2, what I think is cotton threads, so it's like lace weight yarn for some sashiko embroidery. She got me a kit. So one thing I do need to do while we're here is weigh these, because I haven't actually entered them into my Ravelry stash yet. So the yellow one weighs 44 and the multicolored one weighs 46. So together they weigh 90 grams. So I'm going to use that info. I'm going to add these into my collection. So these aren't going to be accessories per se. They're probably going to be used for that sashiko embroidery. But I'll just categorize them with the accessory yarns for now. Now this is an interesting one. I'm not sure if this falls into accessory or garment. This came with the other hedgehog fibers yarns, like the neon ones. It is just a single big skein, so 128 grams of this watercolor style purple and blue, reminds me of Monet yarn. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to use it. I was thinking I might pair it with some other kind of standalone yarns I have, which maybe should have gone into the garment collection, but these all came together. So these, I'm pretty sure, are Malabrigo Rios. So we have one cake in the color Purple Mystery, which is a very, very similar blue purple to the ones that I dyed myself. We have a cake in an unknown color, but it looks so much like Malabrigo Rios to me. So it's like a raspberry purple. And then we have this light purple color here. So these all kind of go together. So I think I might actually put them back together and make them into something. I don't know what. I think this kind of brings me up to like 350 grams. So it could be a garment actually. I'm just not really confident in what I would do to make them look good together. I might have to take a quick break because my mum's coming over to visit me. So I'll check back in a little bit. The sun started to set, so I've had to switch some lamps on, so let's hope that all looks all right. I've only got a couple more things to get through in this category. We're kind of down to the slightly left of center stuff. This is a bag of very vintage Patternile merino. So Patternile is a yarn line that Pattern still sells, but this is not how the label looks anymore. This must be from the 90s if I had to guess. I have an awful lot of it. I have all of this. I think it's like more than 400 grams of fingering weight yarn. So this is a sock yarn. It's, well, the current day Patternile is advertised as merino and nylon, and it's very soft. This does not feel as soft as the kind of stuff you get in the store now, and it doesn't say merino on it. It says wool and nylon. So I suspect it's just regular wool and nylon, but I love this color. The lighting's making it a bit tricky to see, but it is a slate blue. And it's got a mixture of browns, blues and greens in it. So it's a mild yarn. And actually I got it off somebody who had already knit a massive panel of it. So it's coming up great on camera, but that's because of the warm lighting. It is a blue. It's very beautiful dimensional fabric. It's just not the softest. So I originally got it with the intention of knitting a garment, but I don't think I would like the feeling of a garment like this. And also I figured out that fingering weight garments are maybe a little bit too much of a commitment for me right now. So I have been picking away at this yarn for various different projects. I've knit one half of my two-sided beanie with this yarn. And I also am currently knitting a pair of socks with this yarn. So I've kind of been like taking balls from the collection as we go. So I might keep it around for that purpose. I might be brave enough one day to make a garment out of this. I do like the color of it. Or it might end up getting donated. So we'll keep it for now and we'll see how we go. This is one of the other very few yarns that I've bought new. I bought this last year at the Wool Expo. This is from Fibre Arts Shed, which is a small mill in Gilby, New South Wales. And this yarn I got from them was discounted. It is a reclaimed mill waste yarn. So this is brown with very subtle rainbow tweed, and it claims to be sari silk, the tweed sections. They can't guarantee what fibre this is because this is made from the kind of offcuts from the floor of the mill. So they mostly mill wool, but also cotton and linen. So this does have a bit of a mixed fibre feeling. I don't think it would make a good beanie. I think it might make a nice little neckerchief or like a hair scarf. So that's kind of what I have in mind for it. And for the sake of fitting it in, I'm going to put it in with these miscellaneous sock yarns. And floating around, this actually I think counts as a scrap. So I'm gonna put that in scrap. So we're reaching the end of our accessories pile. I have 2 more yarns to speak about. First up is one that's currently in use in a width. I'm making a blanket, and for the blanket I'm using my very large 1.2 kilos of Patterns Fireside Chunky. So this is also another cute vintage label. I love these labels. Okay, I actually have to admit something. I have been doing something kind of strange ever since I started knitting. I have collected one of every yarn label I've used and I put them in this bag. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I assume some sort of art project, but I think I definitely would like to keep some of these cooler labels and yeah, maybe frame them or hang them up in some way. So if you have any ideas of what I should do with this weird collection, let me know. But anyway, I love the label of this one. It's got this like fire motif. And anyway, this is 100% wool, I believe. And I bought this one sight unseen. And when it arrived, I realized it was not as soft as I thought it might be. It's just classic wool. And I had pictured doing a sweater with this, but I decided to make a blanket out of it instead. Oh, this is the color 9347. It's a beige. So I'm currently knitting I'm actually crocheting a blanket out of this. And when that's done, that will be a huge amount of yarn out of my stash. So yeah, that's in my whip basket. And finally, for my non-garment kind of yarns, I have another big collection. This yarn is from Cardigang. So this is very similar to like Wool and the Gang. They do these chunky roving yarn kits, and I found this one at an op shop. So I have 4 balls of this color here. So this is 100% merino, and as you can see, it's like not plied. It's very soft. Some bits are kind of fluffy, and it's super, super, super chunky. The recommended needles are US 18. I think that might be 15mm needles, and these balls are 200 grams each. So I've got 800 grams of this lemon yellow color, which I don't know if it has a name on it. No, I don't think it does. And then I have almost a full 200 grams of this peach color. So I assume this came in some sort of kit. It's super, super soft. But I am a little nervous about making a garment out of roving because I just know that it's not going to wear super well. So if you've made a garment out of roving and it worked out well, let me know, because I would love a massive chunky lemon yellow cardigan. But if that's not what I end up doing with it, I am going to knit myself a massive bag out of it and then felt it deliberately, since this is going to kind of pill and felt anyway, and make myself a big yellow wool tote bag. I think that would be super cute. And I do really want to work with this year because this alone is 1 kilo of yarn, I think. So I can make a really big dent in my stash just by using this up. Okay, I think that is all of my sock and accessory yarns for now. We still have to deal with this stuff back here, which is the kind of leftovers or the scrap yarns. It's kind of my poor, sad orphan yarn. So yeah, let me put all the sock and accessory yarns into a tub. I hope they fit into one tub, and then we'll move on to the final category. I found a Wool Chambers ball that was in the wrong pile, so I'm going to put that with its friends in this one. I don't think this is all going to fit in one tub, so what I've done is I put all the sock yarns in this tub. I'll then put the non-sock yarns in the other tub, and we'll see where the scraps fit in. Okay, I'm down to my kind of odds and ends collection, which I'll take you through. And I've got to weigh one or two of these so I can't forget. And then I'll decide whether they go in with the sock yarns or whether they go in with the kind of non-sock accessory quantities. So how should I tackle this? I'll start off easy. This is a collection of miscellaneous mohairs that I picked up at op shops, and then once I had enough, they were all white, I dyed them different colors. And then you can see here I've split them into kind of halves, so there's one half of each color in each bag. And the vision for this was a striped kind of gingham style scarf, so holding two yarns together and then changing out color A every few rows and doing intarsia columns with the other color. I can put up some pictures of what I'm talking about. I've seen them in shops, so I know what I want. Who knows if that's ever going to happen? It's not really high up on my priority list right now. And since these are definitely not sock yarns, I'm going to put these in with the accessory kind of yarns. All right, next up, this is part of that same collection I got from Facebook Marketplace of a whole bunch of different cool yarns. Let me just get them all together. So a lot of these ones I picked up, I'm pretty sure are hedgehog fibers, and then some I just can't ID. If you recognize any of these yarns that I'm saying I don't know what they are, please tell me, because I log all of this yarn in Ravelry. I'm quite meticulous about keeping track of it, and it kills me not to know what the brand and the colorway of the yarn is. So first off, we can do the hedgehog fibers ones. So when I say that, I mean these neon kind of speckled yarns. So I have two balls of this purple, a ball of the blue, this pistachio green, and then a coral neon color. These are beautiful. So the coral and the light blue, I believe, are skinny singles. I think this blue one is in the color Genie or Heyday. You can see it up close there. And the second one is in the color Pucker. This is just, again, my best guess as to what color these ones are. And then the other style I've got is merino lace. So that's just a plied version. I have this purple color. I think this is Echo. And I also have this beautiful pistachio green with neon pink speckles. And I have no idea what color this is. So those are kind of tricky because they're not sock yarn, they don't have nylon in them, and I only have a small amount of each. I think the one I have most of is the purple. I've got about 83 grams. So I have no idea what to do with these. I could maybe use some of them together. I don't know if there's any really good pairings. I mean, these two kind of pair nicely together in my eyes, but there's a lot going on. They've got like speckles and rainbows, so I don't know if it'd make for good color work. And I'm not much of a shawl knitter, which I think is what a lot of people use this kind of yarn for. So if you can think of something I should make with those, please do let me know. But also in that same purchase, it was a lot of yarn from one lady. I got all of these unknown mystery sock yarns. Now, these top two corners, I think are actually self-striping yarns. I suspect these have come from some sort of brand that does like country inspired colorways, because the color changes are very long. They're not speckled, they are in fact striped. So I suspect this is an American flag and this is a Swedish flag, I think. And of each of these I have about 36, 38 grams. All the yarns in this bag are 4-ply or like sock weight, and I'm pretty sure these are sock yarns more or less. So I could make cute little shorty socks out of these. I could do some color work with them. I love this color. Look at this green. It's actually that vibrant in person. It's like a deep, warm green color. I love that. So yeah, none of these are really enough for a full pair of socks, except maybe this one. I have 72 grams of this yarn. This one has a different spin than the others, so I don't think they're all from the same brand. What happens if I pull on it? Oh, that one's really easily broken because I just did that. So that is definitely not sock yarn. So maybe I could just quickly go through and try to kind of split them up into like sock yarn or not sock yarn. Let's try to break this one. Oh, that one broke easily too. Okay. Okay, maybe all of these are not sock yarn then. Let's put this in the miscellaneous, the non-sock yarn bin for now. We have some leftover white mohair. I think this actually belongs with these yarns here. See, one of the bags has white in it and one of it doesn't. So I think I'm going to drop this in the missing spot. Oh yeah, this is the yarn label. This is this yarn. This is Patterns Mohair Spun. And that's 60% mohair, 10% wool, 30% acrylic. So I didn't dye it because the acrylic wouldn't have taken the dye. There we go. I must have pulled it out of the bag for some reason and then forgot to put it back in. So this is why we go through the yarn, so that we can not lose things. Okay, we've arrived at another possible donate. This is probably the oldest yarn I have in my stash, as in I have owned this yarn for the longest time. So I bought these 3 balls of acrylic from my local yarn store probably 3 years ago. And can you guess what the reason was? I got grey, red and green. I wanted to do some Christmas crocheting. At the time, I was only a crocheter, and I started this Christmas stocking. This is a crochet colorwork piece. This is definitely my most advanced crochet piece ever. And I got this far into it and I lost interest. Let me just quickly tell you what the yarn is before I carry on. This is Fiddlesticks Superb 8. This is a really nice soft acrylic. So I put this project away and I haven't really worked on it since, and it's been sitting in my to donate pile for a long time because I think there are a lot of people who would make better use of Christmas coloured acrylic yarn than I would. So that's definitely a contender for donation. So much so that I'm probably going to put it out straight away. I'll still count it in my yarn totals until I actually get rid of it, but for now I think that's going to be donated. Similarly, I got this secondhand, and for ages I thought this was sock yarn. I thought this was DK weight sock yarn. It was very difficult to break by hand, so I thought it had nylon in it. It's this beautiful multicolored blue. And then the other night I actually went to cast on some socks with this, and I just thought I'd double check. And so actually my boyfriend cut off a little piece and did the burn test in the sink, and it fully melted. So I actually now realize, and looking at it with a torch, you can tell it's acrylic. So it's not going to be any good for socks for me, and I don't see myself really having any use for this. I don't know anyone who would like love this in a beanie or something, so I think I'm going to put this with the Christmas yarn to be donated. So here I have 2 balls of merino. I can't remember the name of this wool at this exact moment, but I bought this from, I bought this new, but I bought it from a store that was closing down, so it was 50% off, and I only got 2 balls, and you can see here I started a project. I started a baby cardigan with this one, and I never ended up finishing it. So I kind of half-heartedly ripped it back, rewound it. So this is 2 balls of 100% merino wool. And I think I will knit it into a baby accessory. So I might put this in a bag and put it in with the non-sock yarns, I think. So I think we've reached the point now where I'm pretty much up to all of my actual leftovers. Like leftovers from projects that I've used them for before. So I'll quickly run you through what all of these are. So we have Fiddlesticks Pepin 10, which I used for, what did I use this for? Oh, a beanie, I think. I have less than one skein of this left. I have my Knit Picks Gloss DK. I have one ball of this in the colour Kenai from my low tide sweater. So this, and this yellow. It's a different yellow than the other yellow. These are all Patterns Dreamtime Merino. I got these secondhand. With the yellow colour, I started to knit this pair of gloves. I knit one set of fingerless gloves and I haven't worn them, haven't finished the second one. So the intention here is to kind of frog that. Then this grey, blue and white is left over, along with the yellow from my Nord sweater. Next up, leftovers also from that same sweater. This is a small portion of Claqueton Superfine Merino in this kind of purpley grey colour. This mystery ball of chunky wool here in beige. My leftovers from my zipper sweater. So this is Cascade Eco Cloud. I can't remember the exact colour. I want to say Dove, but it's just a grey colour. I have a little bit of this left over. I have this Bendigo Woolen Mills mohair in the colour Wine, left over from my Nestoria jumper. Oh my god, look at all these tiny scraps. I need to get rid of these. This is a bit silly. I have all these little scraps. Oh, and then I have a little bit here of another mystery yarn. I have a feeling this is Pepin 10 as well. DK weight, but not wool. I have this acrylic beige colour left over from a gift beanie. And in lighter weights, I have the sad remains of one of those wool chambers skeins. This is in the colour Candy. I made a pair of socks with this. I think this is its brother, so I made two pairs of socks, and for some reason this one fell apart and all that's left is the red colour, whereas this has a lot of the green left. So I think this is actually all in the colour Candy. This is another mystery, no label yarn. It's quite fine. Feels like a fingering weight wool in a navy blue colour. And then this one I'm pretty sure is Black Wattle Yarns in the Kunzi line, which is some beautiful alpaca-y wool blend. The colour here, it's kind of hard to see, but it's a baby pale warm pink colour. I made a scarf for my mum with this and I have quite a bit left over. I'll check how much, especially for such a fine weight yarn. I have 41 grams of that left over. So I think that is all of my kind of scrappy leftovers and I want to group them in some sort of sensible way. So let's do that. I think I'm going to go by weight. I'm going to go fingering weights together, DK weights together. I'm not sure about this acrylic yet. This is worsted. So yeah, I think that's the split. Let's see if I can fit all these DK into one bag so far. And we maybe might just do the worsted and the fingering together since I just have so little of it. Now, if you are more creative than me and you have any good ideas for what to do with these kind of weird quantities of scrap yarn, I would love to hear your pattern suggestions. A lot of them have different care needs, like some are hand wash, some are superwash. So I find that quite difficult to work with, but I don't want to just throw all of these out. So please do let me know. Now, sitting here, I know I have a yarn that isn't here. See, this is why I have to keep track of my yarn so closely. I was just sitting here thinking, where is this orange yarn that I bought? And my boyfriend said, have you put it in the freezer? Yes, I had. I had put it into the deep freezer. Some of this yarn had been sitting out and around my house, and I'm always concerned that it's picked up some sort of bug or critter. So I put them in the freezer and I forgot about them. Consider them extremely deep frozen, but I do have some last minute entries in here that I want to take you through. This yarn is some that I recently bought. This is more Pepin 10. If you can't tell, I really like Fiddlesticks Pepin 10. It's a superwash merino yarn, super soft. It comes in a huge range of colors and different yarn weights. So the 10 means 10 ply, which is like the equivalent of a worsted weight. So I used this deep jeans blue color to knit a secret beanie, which I'm going to show you in my next podcast episode. And I also bought some in this orange color. This is color 1010. I bought 2 100-gram skeins. I did lose the label of one of them, and they're also going to become a beanie. So these can go into my accessories tub, I think. Another exciting accessory yarn I have is this Icelandic Lopi wool. This is the Alafoss floss. It's mohair and wool, and it's in this gorgeous hot pink. It's a chunky yarn, and I'm going to make a beanie out of it, of course. Here's a scrap of that mystery chunky wool, very similar to the navy blue and the beige color here. I don't know what the brand is, but I'm going to put it with its friends. So to start off with, I've got another Dreamtime Merino. This one is totally unused, so this is the color 2959. I like yarns to be together with similar yarns. Makes me feel like they're less lonely. All right, oh, and here is way more of that same Clackheaton Superfine Merino from my Nord sweater. These leftovers are from the socks that I'm wearing, my drow socks. The main color here is from Delicious Yarns in the color Claret Cup. I have a fair bit left over, but I actually need to measure how much because this is one of the projects I haven't put in Ravelry properly yet. So the main color, I've got 38 grams left. And the contrast color, which is the Bendigo Woolen Mills 4-ply sock yarn that I dyed myself, I have 7 grams left. I think this might be the first actual sock yarn scrap that we have. So let's see, have I got any more? Yes. I have this left over. These are from some socks that I knit last year before I started making videos about it. This is a mystery sock yarn, unfortunately. Looks hand dyed, and this is the remains of the heel of a sock. So I knit my sister a pair of socks, and I knit them with a Flegel heel. It's just a particular kind of heel construction. It's like a heel turn and gusset, but there's no heel flap, I think is a good way to describe it. Anyway, I knit them wrong and it was too tight, and I had to cut out the heel and do some surgery on the sock. So that's why I have this little heel left. And then this is the leftover yarn. I usually end up with like 30 grams of yarn left over from a pair of socks. So that's what this is. And to go with these, I do have some left over, and this is a yarn I've already talked to you about. This is Pattern Isle Artistry. This is in the color neutral mix, and I used this for my beanie. So I have a fair amount of this left over. I think I have almost 50 grams. Yeah, I have 43 grams. And these are all sock yarns with nylon. So I think these can all go together and go into my sock yarn bin. However, this main color from these socks, the reason why I did a contrast heel and toe is because this actually isn't sock yarn. It's not got any nylon in it. So I'm going to put this in with the fingering weight yarns that are not sock yarn. And actually similarly, while we're here, I have a couple more of these lovely hedgehog fibers yarns to talk about. So I have some merino lace. This is 74 grams of what I think is the color Concrete. I haven't been able to find a really good kind of color match for this online. This is the closest I could get. It is a beautiful pale gray, but it has streaks of pink and streaks of blue. They're very subtle. It's gorgeous. The one thing that's a shame about this yarn is that it seems the previous owner has hand wound this ball double. So it's a lace weight, but one of the balls, once I realized it was wound double, I was trying to unwind it and it just was a disaster. I don't have the equipment to unwind something that's been wound double. So this ball is still held double. This one is single. So I think unless I want to painstakingly unwind it, I'm going to have to also use a double, which is fine because I don't really knit in lace weight anyway. But all that is to say, this is a very lightweight non-sock yarn, so that's going to go in that bag there. Now here's another 2 hedgehog fibers. These are skinny singles. I think I found one of these colors and I have it on my Ravelry, but they're both white bases. This one's quite warm, this one's not so warm, with multicolored speckles. So we've got pink, green, and yellow predominantly, and then this one was mostly blue and pink. So I just used these in a project, which I haven't spoken about yet. And for it, I wanted to hold them together with a mohair. So I bought some yarn. It's not very much. So I have bought this tube of mohair. This is Concept by Katia 50 Shades of Mohair. This is the shade number 1, I'm pretty sure, which is the lightest. It's just like a warm white. And it's just a silk mohair like any other you've ever seen before. Comes on a little tube. And I've used 3/4 of it. So I do have like 5 grams of mohair left on this to finish. Now this is a summer yarn. This is Serdar Snuggly Baby Bamboo. It's a DK weight, 80% bamboo sourced viscose, 20% wool yarn, and this lovely very pale grey colour. It's super shiny and soft, and the plan for this is to use it for a baby knit. And I have a specific pattern in mind, which is like a snuggie pattern. So that's like a little baby toy head and then a blanket body. It's a super small toy for newborns. So I think that's what I'm going to use this one for. I'll put it in with my DK weight non-sock scraps. And I think last but not least, I say that and I'm going to come across things that I've missed, but you know, I just want to give you a sense of the general sense of what's in my stash. This is the leftover nightmare yarn from my machine knit sweater. I knit this as a gift for a family member, and I just wanted to hold on to a tiny bit of the leftover yarn in case it needs repairs. Okay, so let's see if I can get all of these to fit in these last 2 tubs. This is never going to fit. This is going to take up an entire tub on its own. And this one, look, my sock bin is so empty. And I do want more sock yarn. So when I start buying yarn again, I think I'm going to start with the socks, definitely. I could be crazy. I could try to fit this in. Maybe it'll fit. Yes! Okay, it's not in the right category, but I managed to get that super chunky yellow yarn into this bin. Yes! Look, it all fits into these 4 tubs. Except, of course, my whips. So work in progress yarn. Work in progress yarn. I have these 2 yarns that I'm pretty sure I'm going to donate, which I'm not putting back in the tubs. And then I have this one full of yarn. I bought this yarn from Kmart. I don't intend to make anything out of it, but I do have a use for it. This is my go-to scrap yarn. This is my like waste yarn, I just need something to hold my stitches yarn, and I always have this out, so it doesn't live in the bins, it just lives out and I use it as and when needed. Can you hear my pet birds? I was wondering how much better I packed all of this, and I think I can show you. These are all the Ziploc bags that were in those tubs and are now no longer in there. So, you know, unnecessarily separated yarns, and just like bags of the half full bags. A lot of these were the bags that the yarn came in. So when you buy yarn from an op shop, it comes in a Ziploc bag, and I generally just keep those bags because I don't want to waste them. But they're a bit thinner and a bit cheaper. And specifically what I don't love is that they have one single Ziploc zip, whereas the bags that I mostly use are ones that I bought specifically for this purpose, and they have 2 Ziploc zips. So they tend to stay closed for like a lot longer, and they can resist a bit of pressure, so you can kind of like fill them up to the top and then close them. And the air is just less likely to leak out over time. But I'm going to get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 bags of yarn that I started the year with that I don't have anymore. So that's really cool. I think the next sensible thing for me to do is to tally up those little bits of leftover yarn that I had to weigh and put them into my Ravelry. And that will allow me to figure out how much yarn I have actually knit through in the first 6 months of the year. And I just want to see if I'm on track with my original estimate that it would take me 8 years to get through this yarn. I am, however, super happy to have met my kind of initial goal, which was to get the stash down from overflowing to fitting in the bins. And once I finished off these whips, I've got, I think 3 or 4, then I have officially reached my 4 tub goal. So let me get my room back into a reasonable state. I'm going to get a cup of tea, and then we're going to sit at the computer and we're going to do a bit of maths. So I've sat down with Excel and I've added in that last little bit of yarn that I had to measure. And I've kind of collected all of my projects from the past 6 months, how much yarn came in and how much yarn went out. And I have a total number. So let me get you up to speed. So far this year, I have knit 12 finished objects. And my goal for the year was 10. So I knit 14 things last year. And I had hoped that I would knit at least 10 since I wanted to knit some more garments and some more complex things. So to see that I have done 12 so far, even though a lot of them are accessories, is really exciting. Let me take you through quickly one at a time. So I started off the year with Kate's beret, and I used 65 grams of yarn. I then did the Nord sweater. That took me 354 grams of yarn. The Scone Run hat used 63 grams. My low tide sweater used 400 grams. My two-fold sweater used 600 grams. My baby bear beanie used 55 grams. My 2 machine knit scarves, the practice one used 300 grams. And then the real gifted one used 280 grams. But I was given that 280 grams of yarn. So that one's a net 0. The Drows socks I'm wearing used about 80 grams of yarn. The beanie I've just finished, but you guys haven't seen yet, used 95 grams of yarn, but I bought the yarn for it. I bought that blue Pepin 10 yarn. So I'm actually up 5 grams from that one. The scarf I knit myself, which I haven't shown you either, that used 96 grams of yarn. And I owned most of it, but I did buy that white mohair, and I bought 20 grams of mohair for that project. So that kind of balances out to be 76 grams. And when I was buying those 2 yarns, I got a third yarn. So I got that orange Pepin 10, and I bought 100 grams of that, and I haven't knit with it yet. So that's an additional 100 grams. And then I was gifted that Japanese cotton thread, and those came out to be 90 grams in. So in total, from January to July, I brought in 590 grams of yarn, which is not nothing, but it's not a huge amount compared to last year. And then out, I used up 2,388 grams of yarn. So that is awesome. As a balance, that's 1,798 grams out of my stash. And that we can use to figure out how much my stash weighs now. So at the beginning of the year, my stash weighed 16,909 grams or 16.9 kilos. And if we know I used 1,798 grams, then that means my stash right now weighs 15,111 grams. And that means I have reduced my stash down by 11% since the start of the year. And as I mentioned, my initial calculations for how long it would take me to knit through my stash at the pace I was knitting last year was 8 years. This pace, I'm going to knit through 20% of my stash by the end of this year, meaning it would take me 5 years to knit through all of it. So that is about 1.6 times faster than I thought I was working through my stash. So that's really exciting. And that is counting for the yarn that I brought in. So it's even more favorable if I pretend I didn't buy any yarn. I'm actually knitting through more than 20% in a year, but I'm going to obviously buy more yarn in my life. So I'm just pretending that I only knit through that 1,798, even though I actually knit through 2,388 grams. So what that tells me is that I'm either knitting more often, or I'm knitting heavier weights of yarn, or I'm knitting faster. Or whatever it is, I don't really mind. I am getting through my stash as fast as I thought, if not faster. So that's awesome news. I'm very excited about that. I have hit my goal of fitting it all into these 4 bins, and I really hope this bodes well for the latter half of the year. It's been really good to look through and just like touch and get familiar with all my yarns again. It's easy to forget what you've got and like what you're excited to use. It's also illuminated some yarns for me, which I'm just really not sure what I'm going to do with. And I think the kind of goal I need to set myself is figure out what I'm going to do with these yarns by the end of the year, or donate them. It's funny because I picked up a lot of these scrap yarns on Facebook Marketplace, and in that mindset, I was thinking, oh, like why would you get rid of these cool like hedgehog fibers yarns? And then once you have them and you have such small quantities and they're such varied colors, it's actually really hard to figure out what to do with them. So I understand why that person sold them now. So I want to give myself a chance to use some of them, and I've already used some of them. So I used some of that hedgehog fibers yarn in that most recent scarf of mine. So it's not like I'm not using them. So I want to give myself a chance to get through them. But if I don't, I'm not going to be super upset about donating them if I have to. This also doesn't count for those yarns I'm going to donate. So if I do go through with that, that'll be another 400 grams down. It also doesn't count my whips. So I have 1,200 grams for my blanket. I'll have 330 grams for my book club cardigan. I've got 100 grams for this gift scarf I'm knitting on the machine. And I have 100 grams going into my latest pair of socks. So that'll be another 1,700 grams done, hopefully in the next couple of months. I was surprised by how few solid color sock yarns I own, especially because some of my favorite store-bought socks are just one color. Like I have these bright red socks that I love, and I'm always thinking like, oh, I'd love like a bright yellow pair or bright blue pair, but that somehow hasn't translated to my sock purchases. It doesn't help that, you know, I kind of get what I get when I buy secondhand, but I do think that I would really benefit from some solid colored sock yarns. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Solid colored sock yarns. I love all of my garment yarns. I knew that, but I'm reassured that I love them, and I'm really excited to knit with all of them. I think that's going to give me some of the confidence and motivation I need to get knitting on a garment again, because I haven't got a whip garment. Oh, I've got my book club cardigan, but that's been going for like a year now. I'm getting quite a lot of scrap yarn, more than I would like. I've got a lot of accessory amounts, and I do have some accessories in there that I'm not so sold on. So I've got some of those acrylic yarns, and I think I need to have a think about if I'm actually going to knit them as gifts for people or if I can just donate them. I overall still really like the color spread. I feel like I have a lot of colors. A goal of mine this year was to knit more bright colors, and I still think I have a huge amount of options in my stash. I'm not really feeling super limited anywhere other than the sock yarns. I am pretty light on for summer fibers. I've only got like maybe 3 or 4 summer fiber yarns in my collection. I haven't really knit summer garments before, so I want to see this year if I'm actually going to knit with those, and if I don't, I may as well donate them. I tend to knit wintry things. In summer, I tend to knit winter garments, and in winter, I've been doing winter accessories. So we'll see if come springtime, I get the bug to knit some really cute tank tops. Of course, it's summertime in the US right now, so everyone on Instagram is knitting these really cute tops, and I am inspired by them. So hopefully I will get those yarns out of my stash this year too. One big thing that's going to throw a spanner into all of my plans is, I mentioned it in a few podcast episodes, but I have officially booked my overseas travel. So later in the year, I'm going to be flying over to Europe, and part of that is I'm planning to buy some yarn. So I'm going to do a little bit of thinking about the yarn that I use up. If I wished I had different kinds of yarn, like I mentioned about the sock yarns, and come up with a shopping list and some brands that I want to buy from. So if you're based in Europe or you're very familiar with European yarns, please feel free to leave me some recommendations, because I am planning to buy yarn on this trip, and that's why I'm doing all this work, so that I can have the space and I can have the money and I can feel like I can easily and happily buy this yarn, and I'm confident that I can actually use it up, and I'm not buying yarn as my hobby. I'm actually knitting as my hobby. I think that's all I have to say about all of that. There's a lot of information there, and I probably didn't say everything I needed to say, but that's because I have a Ravelry account that you can go and look at. So if you want to know any more details about when I bought what yarn, what the colorway is, what the composition is, blah, 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 please go on my Ravelry page and have a look. It's all there for you to peruse. And later in the year, I'm definitely going to do another kind of stash data breakdown. So I thought this would be a nice different way to look at my stash, but at the end of the year, I do want to compare the composition of my stash in terms of fiber and color and weight, as compared to what it was a year ago, which would tell me a lot about the kind of yarn that I actually used and maybe what's left behind and just isn't my style anymore. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you go and watch my video from the beginning of this year and keep an eye out for the one coming out at the end of the year. If you have any questions about anything that I showed you today, or just my stash or my knitting, feel free to leave them and I will do my best to answer them shortly. Okay, I think that's it. So I'll see you guys around here very soon. Until then, happy knitting.